Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Friday, April 22nd, 2022. The weekend's here, and what better way to start than a guest today that is a good friend. I met him many years ago in the NFFC and the NFBC. Someone that covers Dallas like better than Deion Sanders did when he was a cornerback for the Cowboys. But someone that we could talk for hours just on the Cowboys. And we got the draft coming up next weekend. So we're going to pick his brain, obviously, there. But so many topics to go over as the Stars getting ready for the playoffs, maybe. Rangers 2 weeks in. Jordan Spieth. I've talked to Brady at length about Jordan. He's good friends, and we talk every year when we see each other in Vegas about it. And I got something to tell the world and himself that I think will, maybe make him run to the window, but we'll see. So without further ado, let's bring him in. The one, the only Mr. Brady Tinker.
Good morning, Jeffrey. How you doing, buddy?
Brady, I am doing fabulous. How are you doing?
Me too. Absolutely. The weather's turned. The days are longer. I love baseball. The Cowboys are relevant again because the draft is coming and they need to sign some more free agents. And the Mavericks are probably playing a little bit over their skis, but it looks like Jason Kidd is a fantastic NBA coach. And then Jordan Spieth is someone that I've grown to love and know. So it was wonderful seeing him get his 13th victory. So let's talk about all of it, my friend.
I'm going to start with Jordan because, of course, in my one and done yearly tournament, I had Patrick Cantlay. So but hey, hats off to Jordan. We talk about the Masters, the green jacket, the water hole, kind of like Cam Smith almost this year. This was what I thought might get you to run to the window. And I want to know if you know this stat.
Okay.
Jordan Spieth's last two tour victories have happened on Easter Sunday.
I did know that. And the final round of next year's Masters is on Easter Sunday. I'm way ahead of you.
Are you running to the window and getting the Jordan Spieth future for the Masters next year?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. His history at Augusta is phenomenal. It's already seems like his backyard. He should have, 2 or 3 victories there probably, but he's got the magic that it takes to win at that course. So yes, I would recommend everybody go get whatever, $10 worth, $20 worth, whatever you want to get right now, 100 if you like. Yes.
Now you go back. We've talked about Jordan. You've had some great conversations with him. Had some speed bumps. Your words to me from Jordan. Maybe came too easy, peaked too early. He was the next coming, supposedly to be the next Tiger. For the viewers that don't know a lot about Jordan, a lot about the insight that you have, just fill us in for a few minutes about your background with Jordan and tell us. I mean, he seems like a real nice guy, Brady.
Amazing. Jordan didn't know me from Adam when I was chasing him at 15 and 16 years old at some junior events. And then at 16, he was going to play the Byron Nelson. So I followed him somewhere and found him at one of the local clubs in town. And he was kind as he could be. He was also, 30 pounds lighter. He was still a boy. He hadn't grown into his man body at all yet. And I remember privately thinking, this is it, and then I believe that year when he played, when he was 16, I think he finished T11 as a 16-year-old at the Byron that year. And I was like, oh my God, he hasn't even grown into his body yet. And he's fearless. He has every shot in the world, which you would think all the PGA Tour pros have every shot in the world. And yes, probably in the top 250, that's right. But are they willing to go hit them on any given Sunday in any tournament? Now you can narrow that group from 100% to about 7%. And he fits into that category, and he did from day one when he hit the PGA Tour. There's not any shot that he sees that's the right shot that he won't hit. And the truth is, Tommy Fleetwood, let's take Tommy Fleetwood, who mostly hits draw. Tommy Fleetwood sees the world, and is a great player, by the way, sees the world right to left. And so when the world needs to go left to right, he's not as happy about it. And, Lee Westwood, just the opposite. Give me high fade. Lee Westwood will come out and tell you, oh, I hate a high draw, because he's just not comfortable with it. And yet this is a guy who was number one in the world. So Jordan Spieth's innate abilities, and then his ability as just the kindest, hardest working kid who has time for everybody, makes him extra special. So 2015, you may or may not remember. I know you do, but everyone else may not remember. He got 5 wins. He was second 4 times. He was third twice. He won 2 majors, and he had arguably a top 5 all-time year in the history of the PGA Tour. And it was essentially his second or third year on the tour. So all of that happens. And as he began to struggle in 17 late, certainly he didn't win in 18, 19, or 20. People may or may not remember that. I had conversations with him, and most of them were amongst other media guys. The thing about Jordan is, if you ask him a good question, he'll give you a great answer. I mean, he appreciates a thoughtful question. And I sort of asked him, I said, all this that you're going through, we're all going through it with you, because you're the local kid and we root for you and you're our guy. Has it occurred to you that 2015 Jordan was just one of the greatest years any player ever had on the PGA Tour, and that you've set your bar over here and you're supposed to do something like that every single year? And he said, yes, it took me a while to come to grips with that. But the truth is, he said, the simple hard part for me, this was in 2019, I think. He said, the simple hard part for me is, in my mind, every single year of my golf life since I was 3, I have been able to see a marked improvement in not only my wins and my competition level, but my game. And after 15, I expected it to get better in 16 and to get better in 17. And so, yes, Brady, your point is, maybe there isn't better, at least statistically when you write it down, maybe there isn't better than what I did in 2015. And I have to look at it a different way. There's better because my ball striking is better, right? There's better because my chipping and putting gets better. My greens and regulation get better. My statistical things get better, which will give me more opportunities to win, but maybe not better in 5 wins, 2 majors, 4 seconds, a third, and whatever he won in millions of dollars. And I thought it was just so insightful and such a great answer, and he wasn't afraid of any of it. He appreciated the question, and it made me love him even more. So he has a special needs sister who he dotes over and spends time with. He has the closest knit family, the greatest parents, his group that's around him that teaches him and caddies for him, and those are all part of his extended family, period. And there was a lot of pressure on him in the last 2 or 3 years, to go with someone different other than Cameron, right? Because there are oddities about his swing. I played college golf. So as a college golfer who studied this for a long time and did golf shows with guys that were on the tour, Joel Edwards and those guys, there were times I thought, man, he needs a new thought. He needs a new point of view, and he needs to get rid of Cameron. And he just wouldn't do it. It's not who he is.
Moving forward with Jordan, how old is he now?
That's a good question. I don't know, 31 or 2. I mean, he's still very young. And he's picked up wins now in the last 2 years, as we mentioned, both of them on Easter Sunday. He's got 13 wins. If you go look at all-time wins, 13 wins. He's already had a Hall of Fame career. 13 wins in 3 majors. He can quit right now and go to the Hall of Fame. So I hope that he continues to see it that way. But the one thing I see in him more and more is that there's no doubt in his mind about the brilliance that he can pull off wherever it's from. Any shot, anywhere, anytime. He flatly hasn't putted as well the last 2 or 3 years, and I think all of us that play golf at any level realize it almost always comes back to rolling the ball in the hole. It just does.
When I think of Jordan, the first 2 words that come to my head are magic beans. That guy around the green is just phenomenal. I mean, he could hit a great drive, a bad second shot, and out of the bunker, or 35 yards out, chip run, boom, in the back of the cup. I mean, he's just phenomenal around the green.
And when you think about it, really, I mean, Tiger Woods was known for prodigious length for the longest amount of time, right? And wins, and probably is the greatest player to ever play. But the truth is, they have that in common. When Tiger hits the ball in the trees, all of us are like, well, unless he's right behind a 20-foot wide oak tree, he'll figure out a way to get this ball in the green. It'll fade, it'll run, it'll go high. And Jordan has the same hands, and maybe blasphemously, Jordan has slightly better hands, because the things, as you said, the things that he does out of bunkers and from perilous lies to not only get up and down, but to make shots are freaky. And if all the people that are around him, they'll always be like, just Jordan doing Jordan things, meaning we've watched it since juniors. He does this shit all the time. And Tiger doesn't do it as much. Tiger gets up and down. He doesn't hold them as much as Jordan. But it's extra special stuff, and he'll have a long, great career because he has a balance, a wife, and now he has a baby, and he has family around him, and his life is balanced, and that offers a lot. Jack Nicklaus, when I met him some years ago, said, the key to my life, and everybody that was on the PGA Tour with me knows it, is my wife and my family. And the fact that I have balance and always had balance in my life. I met Tom Watson one day, and he's like, Barbara Nicklaus was worth 25 wins to Jack. 25 wins. She took care of everything. She balanced their life. She took care of him. All of his little nuances that he needed, that we as men need, right? He's colorblind. So she lays out his outfits every day. Just those little things, right? And Jordan's got that same kind of balance and will have his entire life because he's so grounded.
I can't wait. I'm expecting big things from him the rest of this year, and I will definitely have a Masters ticket on Jordan very, very soon on Easter Sunday next year. Let's go over to the hardwood. Dallas comes in without Luka. Everyone's counting Utah. I mean, the series is obviously over, and next thing you know, it's 1-1. No Luka still. You go last night, no Luka, game time decision. Sounds like he's getting close. You steal another one. You're up 2-1. I know it's Cowboy country. I know the fact that the draft's next week, and we're going to get to that soon. Give me your thoughts outside looking in from us guys from the East Coast. Is there starting to be a buzz now? Can you win the series? And I would expect Luka to be ready for Game 5.
Okay, all of those things. Yes, there is a buzz. The buzz isn't what it would normally be because local broadcast network, Bally's Southwest, and so many local television stations and or Hulu, et cetera, can't come to a deal, or they can't come to a deal with Bally's. So 40% of Dallas is not seeing these games unless they're going out to a sports bar. Whatever. I don't know any of the details. I don't know who's right or wrong. I know it's not just this town. My father's in Kansas City, and right now Bally's Midwest is not showing Royals games. Now, most people at home are going to be like, well, who gives a damn? They're crappy. But the truth is, Royals fans and Kansas City people are fiercely loyal fans, and they've been through this process, right, of we're crappy for 15 years and then we have a chance, and that team is getting better. So they're upset there. I don't know about any of that. And but I do know that it's taking some of the luster off of this, is that there's so many people who don't want to go to a sports bar. People 50 and over don't want to go to a sports bar and listen to people yell and scream and belch and try and pick up women. They don't want to. So you stay at home and you listen to it on the radio. So some of the luster is off because of that. And then because of that, too, I think that this city is not quite in tune with what a run this is. So I will tell you, as betting men, being here and being around this group, they're going to win this series. They're going to win this series. They know it, and Utah knows it. And there's no overcoming that. When they finally won the championship against Miami in 2011, after Game 4, everyone knew the Mavericks were going to win, even though the best team was in Miami. Sometimes there is no stopping this train. The positive mental state of the team that's going this way and the negative mental state of the other, even at the highest level, begins to be a real thing. And Jason Kidd has taken this team and they finished second overall in defense in the NBA. And they've never in the history of the Mavericks done that. Fifth is the best they ever finished, all the way back to Richie Adebayo days with Sam Perkins and Roy Tarpley and Rolando Blackman and Derek Harper. That's when that team finished top 5. And then you look at this roster, and I challenge people who are out there watching the Mavericks. Maxi Kleba, y'all over him? Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell. Who? And yet all of these guys, to be honest with you, nurtured by Rick Carlisle for several years, right, are now finding that Jason Kidd is one of the smartest players ever. And we saw that when he helped them win in 2011. You watch Jason Kidd, his timing of decisions that he makes is always right. He doesn't turn the ball over in the biggest of moments. He knew when Dirk needed a shot. He knew when Jason Terry needed a shot. He knew when Peja needed a shot. He had all of it in his mind. He knew who he could go after defensively and double team in the post. And he had, hands of iron, and all of that basketball smarts is showing up with this team. Because I think it's easy for another team, a team like Utah, who had won 11 straight games at home against the Mavericks. This was not the matchup that people really thought the Mavericks wanted, right? Can't win in Utah. Haven't won in Utah in whatever, right? 8 years or something. And so this was not the matchup that anybody wanted. But right now, Utah has no answer for about 4 different things the Mavericks are doing. And amazingly, none of them yet is Luka Doncic.
It sounds like the social media is really picking up steam with this one. There's a new star emerging in Dallas, Mr. Brunson. And the fact of the matter is, I think I read it this morning, potentially could be a free agent after the season. So obviously, what happens in the NBA. These guys go running for the bag. Tell us about his emergence and kind of just single-handedly taking the team on their back and saying, come on, guys, we got this until Luka comes back.
Well, the world, if you were a real basketball fan, you followed college basketball, then the world knew that Jalen Brunson was a winner. They won 2 championships in college. He won everything in high school. He won everything in junior high. But he's a little small. He's a little left-handed, which actually in itself can be a good thing because people aren't used to guarding it. And is he tough enough? Well, you kind of saw in college that he probably was, but is he tough enough and big enough for this game to take the hits, to go to the basket, take that pounding that the NBA allows and still finish or still make the right pass? But the Mavericks knew from day one when they drafted him that this was a stroke of luck that they got him. Carlisle, Donnie Nelson at the time, they all knew. So he's not surprising the brass nor the people here. He's surprising the rest of the world. But I anticipate them re-signing him because the truth is, the only other way to elongate Luka's career, and we're already talking about that, but Luka tends to fight the weight a little bit, right? He's a little heavy-legged. He's been a little lazy with his eating, and he's a kid. So all of that is getting better. But the truth is, the best way to elongate Luka's career is to not have to have him bring the damn basketball up the court every time, not get up and get the team from weak side to strong side and go through all the machinations that basically happen on every semi-set play in the NBA. Get him the ball, once it's 19 left and he's on the strong side and it can rotate to him and let him go to work. And that will save wear and tear on his body. And Jalen Brunson is just the guy to do that because he doesn't need any shots. Now, he's scoring, but you'll never have the feeling when you watch Jalen Brunson, he's itching to pull the trigger, right? Which is an epidemic in the NBA. I haven't shot and like 4 times down. I'm freaking pulling it. And now with the league the way it is, it's okay if I pull it from 6 feet behind the 3-point line. When as a real basketball fan, you'd be like, what about the team? That wasn't a good shot, but these guys are like, F the team. I got to get paid. I got contracts coming. Brunson is straight line, hard line basketball. So him scoring 40 points, yeah, that was a surprise. But him stepping up and saying, I'm not Luka, but I'm me, and I know where the ball goes distribution-wise. He's very much a Jason Kidd player. The truth is he's a Jason Kidd type player. So they knew they could play defense. They knew they could keep these games close. And could they win in the end? And, I think it all kind of went according to plan. Somehow or another, steal 1 of 2 at home, and maybe Luka's back for game 3 or game 4. Steal 1 of 2 in Utah, please God, and then get him back. And in the end, you can win this series and move on. So I think I'll be surprised if Luka plays in game 4. I just think they're already got a mental advantage. They can win without him. They've shown that now twice. And to get him another 3 or 4 days worth of rest to go home, I think that they feel like that would be worth the gamble. That maybe there's a level of arrogance there in saying, we can lose this one. We ain't afraid to go 2-2, to Dallas, knowing we have 2 of the last 3. We're not afraid of that. So that's kind of where I think this team is at. But it's a shockingly good team, and I've been talking for a long time, but just let me keep talking, because everything turned when they finally got rid of Kristaps Porzingis. That was the magic bean that had to happen, was get rid of him. He doesn't even like basketball. He's a giant P. All he cares about from the day he got here was him. I went in and asked, and I talked to his people, and I'm like, could we do an interview? Could we do it? Listen, Mr. Tinker, what you can do is you can talk to him when he's in the locker room, when he's available to talk. Other than that, if you would like him to talk or come out of his cocoon or do something for you, it all begins at about $10,000 a half hour. Okay, glad he's here. That was in the first few days he was here. And I was like, that's fine. He doesn't owe us anything, right? I want him to be good on the court. He's a freaky type player. Maybe he's perfect with Luka. He's the unicorn. Luka can do everything else. They don't have to get in each other's way. And it might have worked, and maybe it should have worked. But Kristaps doesn't really like basketball, in my opinion. So then you trade him for what seemed like a bag of balls in Dinwiddie, who was having one of his worst years ever, and Bertans, who is either lights out or sit the F down. And you're like, okay. But the truth is, it was addition by subtraction. Dinwiddie came in and felt a whole new lease on life. He'd been struggling for a year and a half or so with his shot, with his mid-range game, things that kind of aren't what the NBA wants. Jason Kidd tells all of his guys, Brunson's one of them, mid-range shots are fine. I know what the statistics say. I know we need threes. I know we got to spread the floor. But Dorian Finney-Smith, if a 12-footer on the baseline is your shot and you're wide open, then shoot the friggin' 12-footer. And same with Brunson, and same with some of these other guys. So that's when it all turned. When they made the trade, there was just this giant thing that was off of their shoulders. Giant skinny thing was off of their shoulders. And in came 2 guys, and everyone was like, great, we're happy that you're here. And it just ended up elongating the team and the depth of the team.
And anyway, before the show, I went on the Circa trying to get updated odds on that series, and it wasn't up yet. So give a little words of advice here is, if you think Dallas is going to win game 4 and go up 3-1, then you obviously got to buy the Dallas side now. If you think Luke is going to be out and Utah evens the series and gets it back to 2-2, wait till after game 4. You'll get a better price on Dallas to win the series, because basically then it's the best out of, you got 3 games left. So whoever gets 2 more wins the series.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you on that. And I like everything that I just said would indicate I think Dallas is going to win game 4. It's the NBA, and we've all been watching it for 50 years. And these things in playoff series tend to ebb and flow for reasons unknown. And I have a feeling that Utah knows that the season is on the line. They also know we've won 11 of the last 12 against these guys. Take the names of these damn rosters and tell me why we're losing these games. Get your ass going, get yourself up, pick up the defensive tempo a little bit. They only beat us in game 2 because they made a record-setting 22 threes, and they turned the ball over 3 times. Otherworldly. So, and then they played really well last night. There has to be an ebb and flow here. If I was a betting man, to say it will surprise me if Utah doesn't win tonight. Luka will not play, and then Luka is back for whatever happens in the final games as the Mavericks hold home court advantage, and they're right where they want to be. So that's the way I would bet it.
100% agree. All right. We are 6 days away from the draft. And that's obviously a big, big topic for you, for all the listeners, as the Cowboys soon will be on the clock. I had talked to you earlier about this. I started out by saying life without Amari Cooper. I know you're comfortable with your tight end situation. I think you're comfortable, obviously, with your wideouts, stepping up. I mean, your star wide receiver really, really let me down in fantasy world last year. I am Mr. CD. I am very disappointed. I mean, he had all the opportunity in the world. No Cooper, no Gallup, and he was nowhere to be found. So before we talk, Jeff, give us the off-season feeling, the buzz around Jerry's World.
Well, there's trepidation, as you might expect. Amari Cooper is gone. I personally have no problem with that, and we'll get to that. Randy Gregory is gone. That one did not make a ton of sense to me. And Lael Collins is gone, and that one made no sense to me either, to be honest with you, especially when you think about where this offensive line already is. Tyron Smith is one of the great players in Cowboys history, but his body breaks down pretty much every single year. And I think Tyler Bidays, the center, is going to be okay. So I don't think there's an issue there. He has a history of being a great player. He comes from really great lineage to be a good offensive lineman, and he will get better. Tyler Bidays will be fine. And then you have maybe the top 7 player in the history of the league, or in the league right now at right guard. So that's fine. But other than that, you don't have a right tackle. You probably need to cover yourself at left tackle, and you don't have a left guard. And yet this is a team, for the most part, built on its offense. So start with Cooper. When they signed Amari Cooper to a 4-year, $80 million deal or whatever it was always a 2-year deal. They had a way out after the second year. They knew that. Now, if he'd have put up 1,515 twice, then they'd be paying him the last $20 million, probably giving him a raise for the next 2 years. But he didn't. And, I really liked Amari Cooper. As a media guy, I got a kick out of him. You know what Amari Cooper was doing in the locker room every time I went to see him? Playing chess. Swear to God. Playing chess with the cornerbacks. He is a strange, unique cat. And as a media guy, it's wonderful, heavenly to find people that are different and that have different likes and dislikes, and that their heartbeat is different. They're not typical of everyone else. And Amari Cooper is not typical of anyone I've ever met in the NFL. He is a different, introspective cat who marches to the beat of his own drum. After his best games, we would go talk to him. And normally when he had his best games, they would win. We would go talk to him, and I would say, what was the best part of today's game? And he's like, do you see those 3 routes I ran where the cornerback basically got twisted into a corkscrew and fell down and I had a great catch? Those are the best parts of the game. He wouldn't mention winning. He wouldn't mention, anything else. And it wasn't selfish. That was how his brain worked, right? He has this unbelievably high bar set for himself as to how he runs routes, gets in and out of his routes, and he is essentially, when he wants to be, unguardable, especially one-on-one. Different body, but in his mind, he's Tyreek Hill. You can't cover me. It's a joke if you try and cover me one-on-one. 2 is necessary. Someone peeking my way is also necessary. But the other thing that we saw it when he was in Oakland, is he sort of gets bored. And you'll see him stand on the sideline, 3rd and 8, late in the 3rd, early in the 4th, in a key series where you're all gnashing your teeth knowing this is a big play. And you look over there and he's over there 3 deep like this. And the announcers will say, we'll get a word if Amari's hurt. We'll see if we can get a word on Amari. He ain't hurt. He just standing over there. Needs a blow. Kind of bored. Thinking about knight to rook 4 or whatever. And so in the end, his numbers were just okay. When he hit Dallas, he did what we all knew he could do. He hit Dallas and was like, oh, yay, this is the perfect guy for Dak Prescott to graduate to another level. Now you put CD over here. Gallup looks like when he's healthy, he's a talent. This offense is waiting to explode. And in the first 7 games last year, they did. But what people weren't paying attention to was in the first 7 games last year, they ran the football to the tune of 1st or 2nd in the NFL. They had 3 200-yard rushing games. They had 4 or 5 more that were around 150, 160. And play action pass, which is Dak and every other quarterback's favorite thing, worked to a T. And then a calf injury, and then some issues, and then this. And this offense continued to sputter throughout the year. And you see sort of Dak's weaknesses in that he's not a wonderful ad-lib quarterback, right? The impossibility of covering and taking care of Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes and some of these other quarterbacks is it doesn't have to go according to plan. They'll make it up as they go along. And the longer they hold the ball, the better chance is that they're effing you up. But it's not that way with Dak. It's 1, 2, 3 and out. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and out. It's on time. It's perfect routes. It's setting up in the right spot. And it's all of those things. So that's the reason, to your CD Lamb point. The reason that CD didn't blow up, because we all thought he was going to. He clearly can get away from anybody. He clearly has the hip wiggle, great hands, great feet. He's got some Des Bryant in him, and it's the negative part. It's the, I know it was supposed to be a 12 steps and in route, but I saw something a little bit, so I wiggled it a little bit to this way, and the ball's buried in the ground at 12 steps and in. So, he's going to have to be more disciplined as a route runner and get better at it and realize the man throwing him the ball needs him to be where he's supposed to be. And until Dak graduates to that level where Pat's at and some of these other guys are at, where CD can see something in his own and he's going to cut it a little bit short and Dak sees it with him, until that happens, he's got to run to 12 and turn around. He's got to get his foot in the ground at 8 on the out. He's got to do it all exactly the way he likes it, because that is what it takes to be a premium receiver for Dak Prescott. Thus, the reason they signed Dalton Schultz. He's always in the right place. He's in exactly the right place all the time. Is he physically really gifted? No. He doesn't have wiggle of some of these big, tall tight ends that are running down the middle of the field, running away from people. He doesn't. He doesn't wiggle. He just runs the right damn route. And so the reason they franchised him, which surprised a lot of us at 11.5, if they don't sign him to a longer deal, that's a lot of money, is because he is the best binky for Dak Prescott on this team.
It pains me to say this, because my feelings towards the Patriots in regards to Bill and Tom. I always say for 2 decades I had to listen to the Patriot fans, who are the most spoiled fans ever created, and the way you're breaking down Dak is exactly why Tom shined, because he didn't have the best weapons, but they ran the route where the way they were supposed to, and Tom would get them the ball, period. Right. End of discussion. You bring in an ad libber. Randy Moss had one good year, then he was forced out. They brought in Brandon Cooks, who I love. Ask Tom Kessenich today, because we're still talking about Brandon Cooks would have them beat by 5 yards. Tom couldn't throw it that far. He would underthrow him. Have Brandon do a 12-yard hook to the sidelines, and it's at his feet, and it was always he ran the wrong route. So you're speaking my language when you talk about that, Brady.
Well, I love Dak Prescott as a media guy, as a fan. This is a wonderful man. He flatly is all times a wonderful man. He's a very good leader. This team rallies around him and really likes him, but he has his shortcomings. He just does. And hopefully they will get better. But, it's kind of, listen, I can go all the way back to the fact that when Tony got hurt in whatever that was, 16 or 17, and Dak came in, they won all those games in a row. They should have gone back to Tony in week 13 when he was ready. They would have had a better chance to go to a Super Bowl that year, because Tony was playing his best in his last 2 or 3 years when he was healthy. And it would have saved the Cowboys a whole bunch of money, right? Because Dak's first year set him on a path to $250 million. And yet he had so many things that he didn't get the benefit or the privilege to learn from Tony, because he had to be in, and then he's in. And everybody in the NFL, every team in the NFL wants the same thing: a rookie or a second-year quarterback making $0 who's great, right? Russell Wilson propelled Seattle in no time because he came in and he was great, right? Aaron Rodgers had to wait, but by the time he got in, he was great. Mahomes waited a year and he was great. All of those things set franchises to this meteoric target, because the quarterback is the key to everything. And then if you can get him for 3 or 4 years for no money, then it's just, cash money. It just is. So they did what they did. I get it. But if they'd have put Tony back in and given health, which is something he could have played the rest of that year and one more year, Dak would have learned more. You would have slowed the clock down on Dak in terms of what you owed him financially. And he would have learned more about reading defenses. He would have learned more about the spidey sense that Romo and the special quarterbacks had. Romo's about to get tackled, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, he drops a hip and he's gone. And you're like, there's no way he saw that guy. But he did. He felt him. Those are the things that Dak did not get enough of the benefit of. And I remember talking to Dak before Tony got hurt that year and said, what's the best thing with Tony? And he's like, you kidding? Film room. He's a friggin' savant. He is teaching me things and showing me things on every single play. A slightly open foot of a safety or a cornerback here indicates this, and I'm going to be able to get this, and I'm giving that one up. That's my number 2 read, but it's already gone. I already see that that's gone, right? So I'm going from 1 to 3, and he was just enamored with all of it. And then it was over, and he's playing. And it was just this perfect storm because the offensive line was healthy. Zeke was phenomenal. The running game was everywhere. The defense was healthy. It was that almost perfect year for the Cowboys, right? Until they lost to Green Bay. But things turned on that. And so Dak has some deficiencies because of luck or being unlucky in that he got thrown in so quickly. So lucky because he's rich beyond his wildest dreams, maybe unlucky because there were some things that he didn't learn and that he didn't get the benefit of that he could have gotten from Romo if he'd have stayed.
You had a great regular season, and then, the one and done playoffs. You're in a division where, again, you're going to be the favorite. I mean, does Philly take the leap? What does Washington do? The Giants are in turmoil. Go back to what you were talking about a few minutes ago. You were cooking with Crisco with that running game. And I know Zeke's getting a little long in the tooth, but you got one of the best second backs in the game with Tony Pollard. And I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, and we know there's a quote unquote salary cap, a hard cap in the NFL. And I know Jerry doesn't just cut stars. I mean, we know Emmett went over to Arizona at the end of his career. If I asked you your take, and then get the take on the team and around, is it time to be more of a 60-40 Tony or the Pollard? They just would never do that to Zeke, correct?
Yeah, I don't think it really has to do with deference to Zeke. think it has to do with Tony's a little bit light, right? So while he runs very well between the tackles because he's really quick, he's light, and I don't think that they think he's a 21 to 25 touch a game guy at any point. The NFL is also going away from that, right? So most NFL teams that are really good at running the football have at least 2 good running backs, and some are working in a third or a fourth, just to keep fresh bodies out there. So I don't think it's that in deference to Zeke or his contract or his relationship with Dak or anything else that they just keep punching Zeke out there. I do think sometimes that this offensive coordinator, as creative as he is, there's a few things. One, this isn't really a system that the Cowboys run. It's a series of plays, like he's the kind of guy who is a genius on a napkin at dinner at coming up with 3 new plays. He really is. And he knows his personnel so well, and he knows how this will work, and he can see in his mind how they can block it up and how it will work. But the truth is, and I'm not saying this is necessarily wrong, but very few Super Bowl winning teams in the last 40 years, back to Bill Walsh, whoever else you want to talk about, hasn't had some sort of system. The system allows for consistency among the players. The players at any professional level and on any professional team love consistency. They are kids. They are rich kids who are getting accolades and hugs and love and fans and fan mail. And in their mind, it's going to be this way their whole life, even though the NFL stands for not for long. But the truth is there's a consistency with a system. So this team could use a little bit more of a system. That's just my opinion. It's a series of plays, some of them brilliant. They looked so good last year through 6 or 7 games. They were absolutely unstoppable, but it was very simple. They were running the ball fantastic. And everything on offense works when you have really talented wide receivers and a running game that's setting up play action pass all the time. And it all worked. And then it didn't. And then they limped a little bit into the playoffs. And when they need their quarterback, and this is the thing on Dak, when they need their quarterback, listen, when I watch the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in this league, and you and I all know it, when the ball's in somebody's hands at the end of the half, they're getting points. Those 5 or 6 guys are getting points. 3, 6, whatever it is. You even think to yourself, I'll give them a field goal right now. Let's just hope they don't score a touchdown. Dak has not been that guy. And it came down to the final drive, the drive before the final drive. See, we all think about that final drive in the playoffs where he ran 2 steps too far and didn't slide, and they get excuses abound of the officials didn't get the ball down soon enough. To hell with all that. He had the ball with 3 minutes and 45 seconds left to go and a full slate of timeouts in good field position. And I think they went 3 and out, or they went 4 and out. That is not what the 6 or 7 best, and now there's more every year, quarterbacks in this league do. They don't. They find a way, okay? Pat Mahomes does not come out and start dealing 18 yards down the field. He takes the check. He takes this, he takes that, he holds it, he sees man-to-man defense, and he runs for 5. He picks up a first down. He moves the chains, right? It's going to be, it's 4 downs probably, right? And so the best quarterbacks know on every play when I say hike, there's something free for me to get here. Every play, right? They can't guard him. That's free. Tom Brady's been great at that. He looks out there, and he goes, nope. I'm going right here. It's 6 yards. It's boring as hell. But that guy can't guard that guy. I'll take 6, right? And Pat does the same thing. Oh, you're in man, and you're all going to turn around and run that way against my receivers? Great. And I can always step through here and get 6 or 9 or 12 and keep a drive alive. Just flatly for me, sitting here with no statistics, Dak too often doesn't do it. And when you think in the past 3 or 4 years that he's been here, pretty damn good offensive line, pretty damn good running back, pretty damn good wide receivers, one of the best offenses in the NFL. How can he not do it more often? He still has to get better.
All right. Our source.
Yes.
And they're good at this, but the mock draft is one guy that's there that shouldn't be there. I will tell you this, and I'm on a ledge when I say this. If you didn't select Mika, the Patriots were going to select him, and there'd be no Mac Jones in New England. That was a Belichick guy. He was foaming at the mouth, hoping that he slid, and the rest is history. So our guy has at 24, Kenyon Green, inside offensive line, Texas A&M. Yep. What are you hearing for the Cowboys first round, and what can we expect as draft junkies?
I think it's a little bit predictable, to be honest with you. I have either Kenyon Green, offensive guard / can play some tackle, even had some center snaps, Texas A&M, so they've been able to watch him closely. He's a mammoth of a man at 6'4" with long arms. The measurements are all really good. And we know A&M, while they don't win as much as they should, always has really high-end players on their team. Kenyon Green is my first pick, tied with Zion Johnson, who's played more offensive tackle to go with guard out of Boston College. So your guy, your source, as far as I'm concerned, is right on. If the Cowboys do not draft an offensive lineman, I'm not saying guard. Most people are saying guard. They better be looking at someone who can swing back to tackle too. And both of these guys, Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson, have played enough at the tackle positions that if needed, they could swing out to play tackle. So your guy is right on. It's Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson at 24 in round 1. A total curveball might be Treylon Burks, Arkansas wide receiver. Now, the comps with Debo are there. I went to Arkansas, so I certainly have laid a lot of eyes on him, and he's a really good player, and most drafts have him there at 24. The other twist could be Jordan Davis from Georgia, and that's an offensive lineman that weighs he's slimmed down to 341 from what I understand, and he ran a 4.740. It's freaky and it's unbelievable, and it's something that they're interested in. And is he Aaron Donald? If he's Aaron Donald, then you damn well draft him, right? You just do. You just do, because he's a game changer, and he is a freak athlete, but he didn't get hardly any sacks when he was in college. So I don't think you say, well, we change things up a little bit. We give him to this great defensive coordinator, and now he also gets 5 sacks a year. So that's something to question. The other thing to question, and this one's easy, is do you use a first-round pick ever anymore on a defensive tackle in a league where when they're in nickel or dime, a defensive tackle's not on the field? So if that's the case, you choose Jordan Davis because you're so enamored you think he's Aaron Donald. You're going to have to change your defense because you aren't picking Jordan Davis from Georgia at pick number 24 and having him play 30% of your plays. And right now, a defensive tackle for the Cowboys is on the field no more, than first and second down, and a lot of times not even that.
And it's so funny. Our guy has Jordan Davis going to the Texans at 13. But I have to say this because that was my curveball. The game has changed. The wide receivers have come in as rookies and blown up the NFL. The Justin Jeffersons 2 years ago, the Jamar Chases. So these NFL GMs are not afraid now in the first round to take swings and move these guys up I think the under-over prop for wide receivers this year is 5.5, and all the sharps are pounding the over. So you kind of nailed my next question, because the two guys that I have in front of you was Treylon Burks, who they are comparing him to Debo, and the other guy was Drake London from USC. So my question is, if you had to decide, okay, put yourself in Jerry's head right now, do you take the safe move and take who we both agreed upon, Kenyon Green, or do you try to make that splash because Amari's gone? Gallup, I'm not saying he's injury prone. We know CD is going to blow up. We have no problem with CD. You moved up, you grabbed him, you did what you had to do. Where do you think Jerry would go if those wide receivers were there and the offensive lineman was there as well?
I can't tell you that I know. I think clearly at this point, Jerry and Steven are not as on the same page as they have been. Maybe that's on purpose. They also like us to sort of be chasing our tails in the media. But Steven sort of is like, we ain't moving up. We got 9 picks, and we need players. We lost Cooper and Randy Gregory and Connor Williams and L. Collins, and Kelvin Joseph looks like he's going to be lost to us too because he can't not play with guns and be around bad people. So we probably lose him too. And that those are significant players. They had big plans for Kelvin Joseph this year, cornerback. They really did. They honestly think that he is, of all the people on the team, the stickiest cornerback they have, the guy who can stay closest to his man. This was going to be a graduation season for him, and I don't know how they can keep him. I don't know how they can. So because of that, they can't mess around in this draft. If they're moving up, as far as I'm concerned, they're moving up for a top 10 to 13 offensive lineman that they say to themselves, this guy comes in right now and is a difference maker. This guy is Zach Martin, right? This guy, whatever damn position he plays, left, whether it's left guard, right tackle, whatever it is, this guy makes a difference. That's the only responsible move up they can make. If they take Burks or move up to get Burks or one of these wide receivers, then yes, Jerry's involved. And it won't shock people. But the truth is, Jerry hasn't been as influential, or he's allowed himself to be less influential, let's put it that way, in the last 4 or 5 years. Steven does a really good job with the salary cap, although Steven's taken some losses. You know, the DeMarcus Lawrence contract, they just were screwed. The Zeke Elliott contract isn't over a love of Zeke Elliott. The Zeke Elliott contract was so brilliantly written by his agent, and Steven took it right in the junk. So they have not been able to move on from Zeke in the last couple of years when they probably should have. This will be Zeke's last year as a Cowboy. They finally will have an out after this year. But Steven's taken a few losses, but overall he's done a very good job. He's been diligent about not signing free agents to the point of he's gone to overkill. Jerry signed too many, Joey Galloway for 2 firsts, et cetera, et cetera. All those things still, are in everybody's cross, so we can't do that. And statistically, as we all know, a high-end, high-dollar free agent, no matter what position he plays, that's 30 years or older, generally doesn't work out. It just, in the NFL, it doesn't work out. Bodies are done by 30 for the most part. So Steven's gone full that way of we ain't doing that either, and we're only doing this. And I think discipline-wise it makes sense, but creatively it may stifle them a little bit. So as far as I'm concerned, if Evan Neal from Alabama is better, and you can go get him at 10, 12, 13, and you can give up 2 fifths if you have to on top of it and your first round pick at 24. And that's what you believe, because I do know that Will McClay is a friggin' genius at finding these people. And he's in there stomping his hand saying, this is the next Zach Martin. He's going to play left guard and this is going to fix everything. The rest of it we can cobble together. Then you make the move. If they come out of first round without an offensive lineman, I'll be shocked and disappointed, because there are second round pass rushers to be had.
Before we wrap up and talk some Rangers in Dallas, I know you're a diehard Chiefs fan, and I had to get your perspective. I was catching wind that the Chiefs were a little tired of some of the stuff going on with Tyreek, more in the locker room. I don't want to say he was ripping the team apart, but there was some stuff going on. And as you can see with the Tyreek trade, you can see with the Devontae Adams trade, now Debo comes out. The stock was never higher on a Tyreek Hill, and they got a king's ransom. They bring Juju in. My question to you is, agree, disagree with the move? Are you happy with the move? Is this still pat? All systems go. We'll plug and play, and our offense isn't going to skip a beat.
Yeah, they filled the positions with better than average wide receivers at this point. It won't surprise me if they have a dalliance with Treylon Burks. They have picks 29 and 30, I think, so they can get up there if they want to. I know he's someone they like. I know they're kicking the tires a little bit on Debo, but that one doesn't make any sense either. And the truth is, my inside sources say Debo's not going anywhere. This is Debo playing a card. He's happy in San Francisco. He loves being the focal point of that offense. He'd probably like to run the ball a little bit less. And I think he's got people around him saying, yeah, keep running the ball 10 times a game, go with everything else you're doing, and you'll be done in 2 years. As tough as you are, it's the NFL. These guys are bad men with bad intentions. You cannot continue to touch it 22 times a game, including 12 runs. As much as you're having fun, your body's going to be done. So I think that there's some of those conversations being had. He's making a play. He's not getting the money that Tyreek got or that Adams got, but he's going to get more money, and he deserves more money. I don't think he's going anywhere. So I think that's all for the fans and for them positioning themselves with Debo. I think he's staying there. But as far as the Chiefs go, the offensive line is fixed. They're going to go out and get some more depth of the offensive line. What they did from the year before when they lost in the Super Bowl because they basically couldn't block anybody, to last year basically having 5 new starters in that offensive line in Kansas City and winning 12 games or whatever they won was pretty friggin' amazing, especially when they started out 3-4. So I think all systems are go. It won't surprise me if they draft a wide receiver. But there a couple of things. One, losing Honey Badger is a big deal. He noticeably looked slower to me last year. He also made more business decisions last year. He wasn't sticking his head in as often. He's 32 years old. But the truth is, his spidey instincts on the football field about where the ball is going, and also making sure that idiot is in the right place because he's screaming at them, is a huge deal. It's a huge deal. So I think Reed's a good signing, but nobody's got the instincts of Honey Badger. And these teams that end up in the Final Four and that go to the Super Bowl, when you look at them, you're like, well, that guy's special, and that guy's special, and that guy's special, and that's why they get to where they are. So that's a huge loss. And then I don't know why they didn't sign their best cornerback. The amount of money that he got was not out of hand, and he's been with them forever. And I'm blanking on his name. I'm sorry about that. But so they lost their best cornerback and they lost their best safety. And they didn't rush the passer worth a damn last year, really. Chris Jones did not have a great year. Frank the Tank, Machine Gun Frank, had all this off-season stuff last year with machine guns and bullets in his car, and it took him 6 weeks to get going. They re-signed him only because he basically said, I'll play for free. So he's still there. They need a pass rusher, and they really need help at cornerback and safety in the secondary. But no, it won't surprise me if they get a wide receiver either in the first round. They have 13 picks, so they're good. They've got 6 of the top 68 picks. So and Veach has been very, very, very good at signing little key free agents and drafting. So yes, it's reload for the Chiefs. The worst news for the Chiefs that's not there for the Cowboys is this division in the AFC West is absolutely out of hand. So, they've been roaring through this division for all of Pat's 4 or 5 year career, right? Getting 13 wins every season. And it's okay last year if they were 3-4 because the division wasn't that good yet. We'll be fine. And they were. But it ain't going to be that way this year. So they've got to get off to a better start. And maybe they only win 11 games this year, but it's probably enough to win that brutal division.
And that's where I was going to go. I mean, the fact is Herbert is another year older. He is phenomenal. Add Russell Wilson now to Denver. And then now the Raiders make a move, get Adams, new coach with Josh McDaniels, which we could talk another hour about, but that's for another show. The division absolutely off the charts.
Yeah.
It's going to be must-watch TV for sure there. Brady, I want everyone at least to get a couple seconds. Give everyone that's not a diehard baseball fan like myself, like our buddy Sean Childs, the rest of the NFBC. Rangers have a stud rookie. who's going to be a phenom. Give everyone the skinny on Mr. Bobby Witt Jr.
Well, that's the Royals. You mean the
I
Royals?
mean the Royals. The Royals.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, lineage, Bobby Witt was a very good pitcher. His dad for the Texas Rangers and some other team, very good, very disciplined. He was an all-star, I think, at least once or twice, and he had a very good career. So he has that advantage. Those are advantages, right? Having grown up in the culture, having been told the right things and the wrong things not to do, and literally seeing them, and those things are a big advantage. He's a freaky, phenomenal athlete. He's struggling out of the gate. I expected that he would. It'll be up to them as to whether they send him back down. These things do happen, and there's a lot of phenomenal rookies that are playing right now that are all struggling. It's hard to hit a baseball, so it won't even shock me if they send him back down for a couple of weeks if they feel like emotionally that he's in a little bit of a funk. But he's such a positive kid, and he can make a difference in so many ways. He can run, right? He can steal bases. He's a shortstop, but he's learning how to play third base. That's another thing. John Kruk used to remind me, Brady, when good players change positions, their bat is going to struggle for a while. Because if they're really good players and they're prideful guys, they don't want to be embarrassed at third base or in left field or wherever it is that they're moving to play. They lay at night worrying about being embarrassing on the field or not making a play because they're not playing the position they want to play and that they think they were born to play. So don't forget, he's playing a new position, and it's left side of the infield, and it's not that different, but it is different. So he's great. He's going to be great. We will see bat to ball skills. Is this a 255 hitter with 35 and 105 and a big OPS and 12, 15 stolen bases? Then that's a hell of a player. Or can he hit 280, right? And can he be a top 5 MVP vote getter for the next 7 or 8 years of the prime of his career? That much I'm not certain about. So we'll see. They make adjustments. He makes adjustments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We'll see how that goes. But he's phenomenal. As far as the Rangers go, they've got kids too. People don't know about Josh Young, Y-U-N-G, but that is their next third baseman. And he would have been playing this year, except for a very late in the season last year or early season this year injury. He'll probably be back in August or September, and wait for that. And then obviously Jack Leiter will be able to come up and start pitching whenever they want him to start pitching. And there's no rush there. Chris Young, former Royal, former several players, is a massive add to this Rangers organization without having to fire John Daniels, who's done some terrific things. The two of them together in tandem have this thing going where it needs to go. The Rangers don't have any damn pitching, so they're going to win 65 or 70 games or whatever. But they went out, and in getting, the two superstars that they went out to get, then that made it more interesting. They have a roof, so you don't have to fry anymore. And they've got 2 or 3 superstars on the team. And there are minor league kids that a lot of the fans don't know about, but Justin Fescue, Sam Huff, I think is a catcher of the future, are just around the corner. So this Ranger team is building in the right direction. They really are, as are the Royals.
Brady, I can't thank you enough. I mean, we just scratched the surface. I mean, we went from Jordan Spieth to Luka, Dallas, to the Cowboys. We sprinkle in some Chiefs. We close with some Royals and Rangers. Your knowledge, your expertise is second to none. We can't thank you enough. I've had the scroller going the whole time. Good. You can follow Brady Tinker at A Cowboy Life, at DFW Sports Beat, Off with the Helmets Cowboy Show on ESPN Radio. Anywhere else, Brady, you can tell the listeners and the followers where they can get your work?
No, those that are close to me know this, though. I'm 2 years with Danny and David Mantle into writing a Mickey Mantle TV series. And I've talked to some prominent people about it. I've had some help from some directors and producers, and we're getting close. But if anybody's interested or wants to hear more about that, you can text me or Twitter. Hit me on Twitter at A Cowboy Life or at DFW Sports Beat, and I'll be glad to tell you more about it. But we've been to the East Coast and the West Coast. We've interviewed 17 of his former teammates and or people who played against him. The unfortunate part is these guys are so old. Honest to God, this hurts my feelings. 3 of the people that I interviewed a year ago have passed away. So that is what you're dealing with people who are in their late 80s and early 90s. But the passion for people out there who really want to know about Mickey Mantle, short of the fact that he was a top 10 baseball player all time and polarizing, was, well, he was drank too much, and he did this too much. He did it. It's a human damn story, and that's what his sons want me to tell, and we will tell it. Okay, you come out of this teeny little town in Oklahoma, and you end up with a martini in your hand at age 19 in Midtown Manhattan. How could anything go wrong? How could anything not go wrong? So there is so much to this story, and I'm 2 years into it, and it is a deep story. We're going to do 35 episodes of a TV series, hopefully on Netflix or something of the like, that will let people in on that story. And if people want to know more or are interested in being involved, yeah, hit me up on Twitter, or I'll give you an email, Brady C. Tinker at yahoo.com. You can email me anytime. Brady, B-R-A-D-Y, C. Tinker at yahoo.com. Thanks, Jeff, for letting me say that.
Oh, thank you. I caught at the very end, FAN used to have Mantles. At Mantles, actually, they used to have a 2-hour segment, and at the very end, you would catch them on some off days, let's just say, and they had kind of move someone, a co-host, in a lot sooner than they wanted to.
Yeah.
But it was good listening as always. But Brady, we can't thank you enough here at East Coast Sports Investors. You've been on a few times. We're going to grab you as many times as possible. It was great to see you in Vegas, and I hope to see you before Labor Day for the NFFC. But thank you so much for giving us an hour and getting us all set for the draft and then some.
Pleasure. Can't wait for us to continue to do business together too. East Coast Sports Investors is a good place for people to be. So they need to be talking to you and maybe talking to us.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Brady Tinker, we wish everyone the best of day today. The weekend is here. Get out, enjoy yourself, have some fun, and maybe even cash some tickets. We will see you soon.